And we are live, guys. Hello. We are here to talk about some more history. So
What?
it should be interesting. This time, though, Yo Pops is going to talk about some of his family history. So I hope you guys are excited. All right.
Hi.
So,
Hey, how's everyone doing?
oh, and of course,
Bring
there's
it
Malty,
home.
too. Malty is going to talk about some of his family history, too, because he has quite a quite a rich history there. Oh, and here's my cat. Hi. You know, yeah, we're so professional. Okay, anyway. So, let's start.
Go
Oh,
ahead, Yo
okay.
Pops, take
Yeah,
it
just no,
away.
just okay. You just want me to just jump right in there.
Just
Okay.
go in. Come
Yeah, so
on.
where do you come from, and which specific rail line did your ancestors help build?
All right. First of all, I'm Korean, not Chinese. Um, well,
Okay,
no,
so
no. So,
you charged for your
yeah,
labor.
look at Malty just going with the jokes just at the out of the gates. Oh man, I love that. I love it. I love it. And it's going to set the tone real nice for the streamer night. So, no, so I was born and raised in the U.S. in California. Pretty much lived here all my life. My pretty much all the adults, so like my parents and my grandparents, and if that's going to be on my dad's side, came to the U.S. I think around like mid 80s, late 80s. So the interesting story of like Asian immigration into the U.S. was obviously we did have the Chinese that came back in. God, what was it? I forget. I mean, it was a long time ago. I forget the year, but when they built the railroads and all that. But the U.S. government put a stop to immigration from the Asian countries because of there was like a lot of bias against like the Chinese coming in, setting up shops. They're doing very well. So they thought it would be kind of a threat to the native U.S. population. It wasn't until the 80s that those restrictions were lifted, and then that's when saw a lot of Asian immigrants come in, especially Koreans, and that's kind of how my parents or my family came in. So that's kind of like kind of like the background story of like the Korean history of U.S. immigration into the U.S. So my history is my grandparents on so this is on my dad's side. They were actually living in the north part of Korea, which before the Korean War, it was a united country. So there was no north or south. It was just the whole peninsula, one Korea. And pretty much, after the Korean War, that's where the split happens. But so I can't go as far back as like Malty, which he kind of his family history, his very rich history that goes way way back before like it was like what like around. I mean, as far as like we had the discussion last week, it was around like the 1800s, I believe. At least that's kind of like where we started off, right, Malty, about like your family's history
We're going back further today.
or further. Yeah, it was a little further, but as far as like I don't know that much like that long, but where I can start is so my grandma and my grandpa, which is on my dad's side, they had lived through the Japanese occupation of Korea. They always tell this story. It's just my grandparents actually speak better Japanese than they do Korean, and I remember growing up, anytime they wanted to have like a private conversation, they speak in Japanese, right? And then like when they go to like the doctors and stuff. I remember like when I was younger, there wasn't too many like Korean like doctors or like Korean people kind of working at the hospital, so they would find like a Japanese person to like translate for them and stuff. But anyway, that's kind of a side note there. So yeah, they lived through the Japanese occupation. From my understanding, they they weren't they they their family life it was pretty good. I guess you could say they're kind of like middle class. If we kind of compare it to like our like standards now. But they used to tell me stories of like how um pretty much the Japanese like forced every Korean to speak Japanese. learn the Japanese culture. If you spoke Korean, you could get punished for that. And then like they also had to do like paramilitary training in schools. So like when they're, I think she was in high school. I think in high school they would have to like do like marches and things like that. Um, so that happened, and then I remember growing up, they harbored a little resentment against the Japanese. Just from the stuff that they saw, stuff that they experienced, because the Japanese are very ruthless. People think like the Nazis, during World War II were pretty bad, but compared to the Japanese, they were Boy Scouts. The Japanese did a lot of stuff, a lot of murders, atrocities. There's the like the rape of Nanking, I believe, and then
Yeah, Nanking.
even till this day, there's a group of Koreans that protest against Japan on I don't know the certain day it is, but they'll go out and they protest against the Japanese government because they've never apologized for the rapes and the atrocities and things like that. Um, but yeah, let me see. So yeah, and then
Just for one quick second. So during basically the occupation, the Japanese with your people in Korea, or your parents' people in Korea, did they kind of put y'all on a caste system? Or because I know
yeah,
now South Korea is extremely capitalist, and you actually find some of the best things going on. So are you aware, or do you know of any of that?
yeah. So like pretty much Koreans were treated as like second class citizens. So it was like it would just be like any other like occupying force, right? When they colonized the country, pretty much, the Japanese came in and they kind of took over everything as far as like industry and things like that. And then obviously you had like Koreans that like worked with the Japanese and then like curried favor with them, and then like you would um now well, you know what, I can't really go too in depth because I don't really know, but as far as I know, like yeah, Koreans were treated as second class people in Korea. And you got to remember, pretty much it's going to be like a military state, like a police state, military state. Like you're going to have soldiers, Japanese soldiers, walking around enforcing rules and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say that as well. Bring that up. The Japanese culture is very militaristic and extremely structured.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't throw me off at all to hear that that's how they treated anyone that they occupied.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember like my grandparents, but the thing was like it was never like, how do I say, like a super hateful way, but there was a little bit of a resentment. But I think like as time went on, it just I'm not gonna say they got over it, but it wasn't as like important to them. It wasn't as like prevalent. You know what I mean? Like they kind of moved on with their life. So. But yeah, there's all kinds of crazy stuff. If look back, if you there's plenty of documentaries, written reports, and things like that of just them treating Koreans really, really, really terribly. But yeah, so that was that, and then obviously after World War II, then the Korean War happened, right? So when the Korean War happened, my grandparents actually fled down to the south, and so I mean, they never really talked about it too much. They actually, as a matter of fact, they've never like I've kind of like gleaned a lot of this information from my dad, and like even then, there wasn't too many details that he gave me, but yeah, they like as far as I know, my grandparents were from the north. The Korean War broke out, and then they had to flee down to South Korea before they started doing the demilitarized, or the partition, or the what is it, the I guess I just say like the demilitarized zone and all that, because that partition line, the demarcation line, actually moved a lot during the Korean War. It actually, I believe at one point
Oh wow.
it went all the way down to like the southernmost tip of the peninsula, and I
Oh
believe that was
wow.
like, yeah, that was like in like when the war was really going on, and then eventually, the Allied forces. Well, I don't know if it's Allied. Let's just say like the U.S. forces
Hmm.
eventually pushed them back, to it was I believe it wasn't the exact demarcation line that we know it is now, but they were able to push the North Koreans and Chinese back, to that point. But excuse me. So when that happened, from my understanding, it was just my grandpa and my grandma that fled, and they left their family there. And the only thing I heard was that my grandpa, and I think my grandma too, they have never spoken to their family since. I remember like one
Really?
time my dad, yeah, my dad was telling me that
Wow.
like my grandpa had a sister. I think there was more siblings than that, but he mentioned a sister that my grandpa had, and ever since that happened, he had never talked to him again. Like even from coming here, like you can't. There's no way to communicate with him, especially after the DMZ went up and
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
exactly.
yeah,
Wow. Is he sad about it at all? Does he wish that he could contact them?
I'm sure he
Or
did, but the thing is they never really talked about it.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they never really talked about it, and God, I feel kind of shitty saying this. I never really asked either. It kind of
Well,
effed up, but
yeah. Well,
yeah.
it's like my grandfather. My twin brother was like he loved to hear about the weapons and the guns that he shot during when he was in Iwo Jima in
Mhm.
World War II. And my grandfather did not want to talk about it. It was like
Yeah,
he did not want to talk about the war at all. But
yeah.
and I could even tell being a little girl, I could see in his face and his expression like he was really holding back a lot, and he just did not want to talk about any of it because he was the one of the guys who had flamethrowers,
Oh,
and
jeez, yeah.
he was like, I'm not gonna go into details, but I'll just tell you basic things. But yeah, it's really tough to talk about that kind of stuff as your family obviously knows and your grandparents and whatnot because it's just the things that happened is just cruel and you just don't want to remember it.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
can understand
the thing was my grandpa was a very like quiet guy.
that. Yeah.
He, and I'm not saying, he was like like my grandparents really spoiled me because I'm an only child as far as like with my dad, and like I'm considered the oldest. So I am the oldest out of like, so my grandparents had four children. So one was my aunt, and then three is my two uncles, and then my dad is the oldest. And since I was, born earlier than my cousins, I was, the oldest, so they pretty much spoiled me. And apparently, my one of my aunts didn't like that because it's a thing in like Asian culture where like you kind of like you give favor to the oldest. You do a lot for the oldest because like the oldest is going to be especially the older male is going to be the one to keep the bloodline going, right? So I remember my mom telling me one of my aunts like always got mad and then, like got mad at my grandparents that you're always just like doing things for your pops, and then like what about my kids, like you don't even like like you barely talk to them. But I mean I don't know, it was just, and I kind of didn't like that either, like growing up, because it was just all this attention on me, like. But they treated me nice, but like my grandpa was a very like quiet guy, reserved guy.
Yeah.
He was kind of like, I would say like um stoic, very stoic type of guy. He never
Yeah.
really, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, that's not to say he was mean or anything like
Oh
that.
no. Yeah.
Yeah. So
He was just more reserved. Like,
yeah.
he didn't I can understand that because, sometimes when people go through such a traumatizing experience, to use that word, sometimes that's just how they, you know, cope with it or, deal with it over
Yeah.
time. Or some people obviously that way naturally, but sometimes they'll be more stoic when they're like, especially when if they have to explain it, then they're just not really gonna be too like, "Oh, yeah, this happened," they're just gonna, like, really, like, "Yeah, this is what it was, but I'm not gonna really go into full detail." So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So piggybacking off of that, so we know that the Japanese culture of the men, stoicism runs within that culture. Do you think that with the occupation of the Japanese with Korea before it was separated from South and North, do you think that kind of culture of stoicism and like, hey, we experienced it, don't talk about it, men have to show their dominance? Do you think that was part of that, or is that just a part of the people who have seen atrocities in your own experience?
Well, the thing about Asian culture, this kind of goes throughout all of Asian culture, really, is there's like a thing like saving face. You the man has to be the man, especially from that time, the men, the providers. It's not like nowadays where men are a bunch of like pussies and shit.
For sure.
But no, I mean, no, it doesn't just go with like Japan. It's kind of like all of Asian culture is like that. Um, it's the man has the last say in things, and then like there is like the wife, or the females are like to be submissive towards like the husband, because my grandma, she did work when she was in the US for a little bit, but she was pretty much just like a housekeeper, or not a housekeeper, and a homebody, if that's, I think that's the right word, or no, where she was
Homemaker.
a
Yeah.
homemaker, yeah, pretty much. I mean, so, every time my grandpa came back from, so my grandpa owned a liquor store in LA, after working some odd jobs when they actually came down here. And pretty much my grandma would, be at home, and my grandpa would come home and she'd have his dinner ready, and, all that stuff. I mean, she's, the one that raised, my dad and my uncles and my aunt. So it's very traditional, very, very traditional culture. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
I was
spans throughout
actually
all of Asia.
yeah, I was actually just gonna ask how many kids she had, and
It
you
was,
kind of answered that already.
yeah, it was four. One, so my aunt. So the thing is, my aunt is the oldest, and then my dad would
Oh,
be the second oldest, and then there's the two uncles. Kind of go, but the thing is, in Korean or Asian culture, the female, since they're going to get married off, right? So they're going to take another man's last name. So technically, it's like, my dad would be the oldest, if that makes sense.
They
You know what
don't
I
have the
mean?
birthright.
oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, exactly, exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
Well, I mean, if you are, I can't remember if it's Japanese or Chinese, you're just lucky that the oldest woman didn't get thrown off a cliff as a baby.
Oh my
Oh man,
gosh.
I
I
know they
mean, they
used to do all
actually,
kinds of
I
crazy
think it
shit.
was China, or I think it is China. They actually have stipulations where you can only have a certain amount of kids. I think two is the tops.
I
And if
think
Yeah,
you're
they
that was,
close as a
changed that
woman, they
now.
yeah,
did they
yeah, that
change
was
it
during the,
recently?
Yeah,
yeah,
I think
that was
so. Yeah.
during, I think Mao Zedong, when Mao Zedong took over as the one child policy, because they only wanted males. They only
Yeah,
Yes.
wanted, male children,
And
and
that's
that
why a
kind of
lot
messed
of
up their.
and that's why a lot of people would adopt the girls outside of the country, obviously. And
Yeah,
also when they started realizing that the female population was in decline, they brought over North Korean women to be with the
yeah,
Chinese men.
yeah.
And
you mean
so
the North Korean, the oh, what was his name? Kim Jong Un.
yes.
Hmm. Oh, Kim Jong
So,
Il, Kim Jong. Well,
no,
back
Kim
then it
Jong Un
was,
is the one that's
Oh,
there
yeah, it
now.
might
It's
have
Kim
been.
Jong Il sold
Mm,
them,
yeah,
sold his women over there. He's
yeah.
definitely making profit off of that.
Oh, yeah.
and then you got to remember his father was it Kim Il Sung, I believe, was the original. He was the father of Kim Jong Il, I believe. If I might be mistaken on that, but he pretty much started the communist revolution in Korea, which caused the Korean War.
Hmm.
So yeah,
And that was '60s, right? If I haven't looked it up, but if I'm not
no, it was
mistaken,
It was in the
it was
50s.
50s.
It
it was
literally started in 1950, 5
okay.
Yeah,
years after the Second World War.
yeah,
And not a lot of
Okay.
people talk about it.
because you got to
They kind of
remember,
forget about that war a bit.
yeah. Because you got to remember, like after the war, pretty much it was, after any war, there's
Mhm.
a power vacuum,
Yeah.
and then is hold on, I gotta look it up real quick. I don't want to get his name, wrong. Just
Yeah,
okay,
take
yeah.
your
So
time.
Kim Il
Oh,
Sung, that started the whole communist thing in Korea, and it was pretty much Kim Il Sung came into power because his message was that the U.S. was pretty much colonizing the U.S. the United Nations. That's how the DMZ and everything formed. The peace treaty, or not even the armistice, was through the United Nations, and that they're pretty much going to install a government, and then Kim Il Sung was like trying to get the Korean people to kind of fight back, but he took on like the communist ideology, and from there we had the split of the country. So
yeah. Yeah, that's, I mean, it's just crazy. Have you ever heard of Yomni Park, the North Korean
yeah,
detective girl?
yeah, she's been on a lot of like YouTube videos. I know that she's been on a lot of interviews and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Have you heard her story before?
Um, I'm pretty sure I have, but I can't like off the top of my head, go
Yeah,
over. But
that's how I learned that the North Koreans were sending their women over to China because she was one of the she was
mhm.
actually sold to a, a Chinese guy. So she goes into this whole, oh my god, what she went through. So it just really makes me think, wow, you know, like, and with your grandparents, they obviously left before that happened, right?
Yeah, way before. Yeah, pretty much like when the war broke out, because there was there's like a certain time when everything starts before all the lines or the battle lines are drawn. There was
Yeah.
like a short window that they had, and they just pretty much had to with the clothes on their backs and like just a couple bundles of certain stuff, maybe some photos, their clothes and things like that, maybe some
Yeah.
money, and just hoofed it out. And they have cars or anything. They had to walk. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there was you'll see pictures of just like Koreans, like, and you got to remember, and they were like an agrarian society back then. This is before like a lot of it. Well, actually, no, no, no. Well, to be fair, like when Japan colonized Korea, they kind of brought in a lot of Western technology
Oh, yeah,
into
okay.
Korea too. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, like, but most of the people were poor. They're essentially peasants.
Yeah.
So you'll see pictures of like just Koreans, just lines of them with like carts, and they're not even like using animals. They're actually pulling them themselves with just some of the stuff that they were able to grab, and
Wow.
just pretty much walking miles and miles, like hundreds of miles, to get down to the south where the US and the UN forces were.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, it
Wow.
couldn't be a trail of tears because they're so stoic. They didn't show their emotions.
Oh my god!
Maybe you could call it the Trail of Rice. Maybe we could do that.
Yeah.
Oh!
I know it's a serious topic, but it's
Yeah,
what are
I
you
had to
gonna
break
do?
it up a little bit,
Yeah,
man.
you have to make it a little lighthearted, I guess.
Hey, you know
Because,
what?
yeah, it
With
is
like,
a travesty, but
yeah, but
Yeah.
with tragedies, it's like if you're, if I always say this, it's like, hey, if I wasn't laughing, I'd be crying. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
but yeah, and then they had, excuse me, sorry about that. They came down, and then from what my dad told me, once they got settled in the South, and then this is pretty much after the war. My grandpa, I think he owned a factory that made packaging materials for so there's a alcoholic beverage in Korea that every Korean pretty much drinks. It's called makgeolli. So it's fermented rice wine. So have you heard of soju? I'm
Soju
sure
is
you
Yeah.
guys heard of
amazing.
Yeah.
soju. Yeah. So pretty much it's like the drink, it's the liquid before they distill it, because soju is a distilled product. That's why it's clear. It's still it's the same thing, but it's the soju's distilled, and then you have the makgeolli, which is like it looks white, looks milky, and it's a little bit sweet. It's pretty good. It's I don't know. It's kind of like kind of want to compare to horchata, but it's not
That's
like
just what I
sweet
was
sweet.
thinking
But
Horchata.
about.
I
I
was
was
like
just
that.
thinking
I've
about it when you
also
said it
had
was
some.
milky.
I'm
Oh,
sorry,
I'm
Jess.
sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that it literally made me think of horchata, but then I was gonna also ask, well, probably not obviously the same, but I thought of sake too.
Yeah, I thought of on unfiltered sakes. Like
Yeah.
there's some where
yeah,
they are milky, and you have to, and they are the sweeter ones.
mhm.
At
Yeah,
least in
it's
my
about
experience with everything I've sampled.
yeah. I mean, yeah. That's a fair comparison. Yeah.
But soju's
Um,
amazing. It tastes like watered down vodka.
you know what? I like. So I've been to Korea a couple times. The last time I went was in 2015. And don't get me wrong, if there's a drink, I'll fucking drink it. You know what I mean? Like beer,
There you go.
whiskey, whatever. I'll drink it. I'll drink it. But it's not my preferred drink. I just find it a little too sweet. And then it could get dangerous because you just keep slamming them back, and before you know it, you're messed up. But it's okay. It's okay.
And that's
Face
the
planting out of
problem
the
with
dojo.
that's the problem with sweet alcoholic beverages. People just slam them, and then you get sick afterward. At
Yeah,
least that's
that's
what
why I
I've
just drink.
heard. Because I
And that's
don't
why I just
drink.
drink beer and whiskey. Just beer and whiskey.
Oh well.
Jameson, like Jameson and beer. So
Whiskey makes me cry. I stick to beer because
Oh.
I can just piss it out and then I feel fine. And I know if I'm losing my balance because after you take a number one, you start to feel it and you know if you're hydrated enough or not and when it's time to go to bed. Whiskey, you start crying for no reason, you get angry for no reason, then you get up to go to bed and you face plant into the cabinet, and
oh, yeah.
at least for me. But I'm a
Oh.
professional alcoholic, so
Yeah.
I
I
was
mean,
gonna make
shit,
a
Malty.
comment, but maybe I
go
better
ahead, Jeff.
not.
Yeah, go
Say
No,
on.
it.
Yeah.
Say
Let's
it.
say it.
because I was
We're
just
all
gonna
friends.
say how Indians can't hold their liquor.
You know,
Typically.
oh,
Asians can't hold their. Well, you can always tell when an Asian can't hold their liquor because they
yeah.
turn red immediately.
Yeah,
It's
but
called the Asian glow. The Asian glow. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a name for it. Yeah.
yeah, well,
yeah.
I was just I just read like a few books that have described when, the Native Americans would drink some liquor and they would just be like crazy people
Well,
afterward.
well,
I
you know
don't
why
mean
that
that
is
in
though, right?
a insulting way.
No,
I
no, no. But
don't.
you know why that is though, right? It's
Well, they
because
kind of have some Asian in them, kind of, don't
well,
they? I
well,
mean,
no, no, no. Well, here's the thing. So with like Indians, Native Americans, they were so when the European settlers came, they had never drank alcohol. You
that's
know what I
so
mean? Like,
true.
yeah, like
Yes,
they didn't have experience with it. And like
yeah,
so with Indians, Native Americans, their whole thing was like, like mushrooms, things of
yes,
that nature. You know what I mean? Like it was all about like
psychedelics.
yeah, because it's all about like the whole shaman stuff and like that was like
Yes,
their medicine and that's how they would communicate with the afterlife spirits and things like
yeah, the
that.
spirits.
But
Yes.
right, and then when the colonists came and introduced alcohol and whiskey,
Mhm.
it messed them up because they weren't used to it,
Yeah, and
and
the thing is, yeah, and the thing is, liquor in those days, in the 18th century, it was way stronger than it is
yeah,
now. It's actually
yeah.
pretty weak right now. It was really the alcohol content was really strong with beer, like, it was really, really potent in those
Let
days.
me,
All
I
right,
mean,
I'm gonna give you both an engine pass right now. You do never have to say Native American again,
Okay,
because I am one.
okay.
So yeah, Indian or
It's a
engine.
it's
That's
a
how we
habit.
call ourselves. But
yeah.
yeah,
So
a
the
lot of the. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say the fire water really messes up the engines.
Oh yeah, there you go, man. Use it. Cash it in
Dang.
daily. But yeah, a bigger port, a lot of that as well. I mean, Jess is correct with the alcohol being stronger because it's less distilled, but there's also, at least in beer, mead, and everything, there's so much honey, sugar, because that's what makes the yeast ferment. There's a lot more sugar that the Indian tribes were not accustomed to. Their bodies were accustomed to living off land, a few
That
little
is so
berries, so
true.
that's not going to give you enough sugar
Yes,
content. That's why you see a lot of diabetes in the
that's right.
Indian Native American tribes. And the people are still around today. Like it's kind of into their blood now because they were
Yeah.
historically they weren't used to that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was like a shock to their system, probably.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God,
Yeah,
what is
exactly.
this?
What's this giant influx of saccharin?
Yeah, those darn Scots, because they
Hmm.
would trade whiskey with them in like North Carolina, and that I've read. There was a lot of that because they would well, when they were settling up there and whatnot, because a lot of Scots came over after the Jacobite risings. They were became like indentured servants.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they had to pay the way to come over to the New World. And that was the way
Yeah,
they
yeah,
did it. Yeah.
they did. Hmm. If they weren't hung beforehand
Yeah. Yeah. I
by
mean
the
that.
English.
Uh, well. Yeah.
Anyway, we
So I
kind of
just.
went off. Do you want to continue anything more, Yo Pops, or should we move on to Malty and his?
Well, I mean, I'm not even. It's not even halfway through. So I
Oh,
mean,
no, keep going then.
if you guys don't mind.
No, not at all. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, so yeah. So after they settled in South Korea, now there's a thing with like a lot of Westerners now because they see the way that Korea is, and they don't really understand like the full true history, like the things that went on before Korea became this like democratic capitalist country. And by the way, there's still a lot of corruption that goes on in Korea. There's a lot of greasing of palms. There's a lot of scandals that go on in
Oh,
Korea.
there's
It's not.
corruption everywhere in every country.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
talking.
I think people have this misconception that like Japan, Korea, that they're like this. I don't want to say utopia, but just for lack of a better word, it's like a utopia, like this great place where like everyone gets along and all that. Like no, it's kind of far from that. Like don't get me wrong, it's things are orderly, things are it's nice. The government does look out for its people for sure, but there's a lot of corruption. And so when my parents were growing up, there was a lot of internal conflict in the government that was going on at that time, because you had pretty much like puppet presidents being installed by whether it was like the U.S. and things like that, and then there were a lot of coups, a lot of coup d'états. There's
Oh,
actually
I can
two big
imagine there
ones.
were.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There was
Oh my
two big
God.
ones that happened. I believe the first one was I forget the guy's name, but he was kind of like he was I think like a Japanese sympathizer, but he was more. It wasn't like a Japanese sympathizer, but he was more trying to get industrialization going in Korea because it's still kind of very agrarian at the time,
Oh wow.
and like he was trying to do. I think he was trying to work with the Japanese to do that, and then he did a coup d'état with the government that was established, and then years after there was another one, and I couldn't really give you too much details on that, but I believe I believe that now I could be wrong. Like I could be wrong, could be messing things up, but like the guy that did that, he his grandchildren are still alive, and like it just and then like I believe there was another president. I think it was a female that she was a descendant of another president at the time that like did assassinations, or maybe he was assassinated. But yeah, there's a lot of assassinations and things going on. And then also you have to remember after the Korean War, South Korea was essentially a police state because they were afraid of like the North coming in.
Oh
So
yeah,
they had,
totally.
yeah, they had,
Yeah.
yeah, they had, like secret police. They had curfews. They actually had curfews. So like, I remember my dad telling me that after a certain time, I think it's like 10 p.m., there'd be sirens that would go off. And if you're found on the streets after the siren went off, uh, the police or whoever would pretty much arrest you and they'd send you away. And a lot of times, you get beaten, tortured. You would never be seen again. And then my dad told me this one story. Um, he was, oh man, so he was, I think he was like college age at that time. I think maybe like in like 18, maybe 20s or something. And there's a thing because there's a lot of demonstrations, a lot of protests that are going on at the time, and a lot of these protesters were like I guess like communist sympathizers, or they were assumed to be communist sympathizers. And the thing was like a lot of college kids, a lot of university students got caught up in that because
Oh
it's like,
mhm.
yeah, a lot of college kids, they protest and things like that.
Oh yeah.
And my dad told me that one time he was going somewhere with my grandma. I think he was going to like a government building or something, and he was walking up, and like at the front gates. So a lot of these official buildings, they have like front gates with like guard posts and stuff like that. He went up and he was looking, and there was like a soldier there, and like the soldier saw my dad, and he was about to arrest him because my dad kind of had not like long hair, but like kind of growing out a little bit. And
Mhm.
like my grandma kind of had to like step in and be like, no, 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 like he doesn't go, he's not like a protester or whatever. But like, yeah, no, my dad used to tell me like, if you had long hair, they would just single you out, they'd pick you out, and they'd arrest you, they'd beat you, things like that. And I
Yeah.
guess what they used to do, if you had long hair back then, they had these like clippers, like manual clippers, and they would just shave the top of your head off, like right there and there. They just shave it off, like they do stuff like that. Yeah,
Oh
but
my
The
god. Well,
party
yeah.
foul. Goodness.
Oh my, it's like, well, it's like Kim Jong Un right now. He's like, this is the haircut you need to have, like his kind of haircut, and you're like,
yeah,
they were like, they're strict on that.
yeah,
But
yeah,
you
yeah.
also,
I mean,
in your own home, that you can never turn your back. You have to have a portrait
yeah.
of Supreme Lord Dictator, and you can never turn your back on it. So you have to
Mhm.
like back out of a room or a hallway that you're in.
Yeah.
I don't
And
know how
you
they
can't.
I don't know how they track that, but that's just been beaten into their society
Yeah.
by
Well,
the
they
way
don't
they
have to track
treat
it.
anyone. Go ahead.
Yeah, they don't have to track it because, like you said, Malty, they're propagandized from a young age, so it's natural to them. It's just what you do. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
it'd be inconceivable for you to turn your back on the great leader. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it just it wouldn't make sense to them. And then
Yeah. And there's
uh
Why have they not led a revolt? You
because
know they don't like
because
doing it, even with the propaganda.
because they have no idea. There's even some words they don't know. There are a lot of words they don't know. Like they don't know what freedom means. Like they're completely, I hate to say it, but they're kind of like sheeple. They have no
well,
idea.
They're
I
liberals,
mean,
okay.
Well, not all of them, but like a lot of,
I'm just kidding. I'm just
I
kidding.
hate to say it.
well, at least I don't have
Say it out loud, Jeff.
at least they don't have transgenders or homosexuals. So and I
Well,
don't mean to
Well, they all
like
got killed,
bash on
but
gays or anything. But that's the thing too. It was very easy for them to do that because Asian culture, it's you don't want to make waves. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like you want to
exactly.
conform.
Yes.
It's the same in Korea
Yeah.
and in Japan too. It's in Japan there's a saying. It's like the nail that sticks up gets hammered down. You know,
Well,
the nail
they're
that sticks
very
up gets
much,
hammered.
they're very much about, the, oh my God, the reputation. They want to keep
Yeah,
that. They want it, and they want to look nice. They want to be presentable. They're just very, very traditional in that way.
yeah. It's
you know,
like it
like
just comes
Mulan's
from the.
father is like, "You dishonor our family."
You
Hey,
disown
no,
us.
that's a thing, man. That's a thing. I
Oh,
mean, it
yeah,
comes.
that wasn't even a joke, but
It's true.
it was an accessible and relatable thing that other people have heard before.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it comes from the old like Confucius teachings.
Yeah.
The elders are always right.
Before he was
But
banned, before they
that's so
banned
funny,
him.
Malty. What's so
Confucius
funny?
say, "Man who fought in church sits in own pew."
Oh my god.
Oh, sorry. No, he actually.
Oh,
I mean,
that was a
yeah.
good one.
That's good. That's good.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Um,
no, no, you're good. That was funny. I probably just drone it on and on. So you guys, the little
no,
jokes here
it's
and there kind
really
of let me
it,
breathe a little bit.
it's really interesting to hear. I like hear you're very knowledgeable. You know a lot of stuff.
You've definitely done some
Eh,
So come
research and
on,
like looked into stuff.
I
yeah.
just act like I do,
Oh,
but no, but
Right.
yeah, but yeah, no, that's where it all kind of stems from the old Confucius teachings of like, and then you gotta remember like pretty much like Korea, China, Japan, like all of Asia, like back in the medieval times, you had emperors and kings and stuff, and you had to do what they told you to do,
because they
so
were literally like gods to them.
yeah, sure. I
And
mean
they
that
were
goes
even
with
yeah.
any like kings and queens, even in like Europe too. That
Oh,
was like
England.
it
Oh
was
yeah.
yeah,
The
yeah.
king queen of England is basically God for them.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
ordained by God
Yeah.
to lead the people. Was
Uh-huh.
and that's kind of the thing, But yeah, that's where a lot of it comes from, and the way I see it, it's just because of that, because like that's just how Asians. That's like in the culture. It's very easy to have them conform, and especially under the threat of violence, and then especially the threat of like your family getting that violence as well if you act out of line. Like it's just
Yeah.
it's just they have it on lockdown pretty much. They don't
Well,
really
and
need to do anything.
yeah, well, and even if like a past found like a great grandparent owned property before the uh Jong-uns or whatever came into power, they would like arrest that family be in trouble because that grandparent, even though it was very long distant, for they would like get arrested and get in trouble just because that grandparent owned land there.
Right. It's like the kulaks. It's like the
Yeah.
kulaks in Russia.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
same thing, same thing.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, and then well, I feel like we kind of went off on a tangent there, but yeah, I mean, so yeah, Korea was a police state for a very long time. Um, that happened, and then so fast forward a little bit. What had happened was so how my dad's side. So my uh my grandparents or my family on my mom's side still live in Korea. They're in South Korea, and it's funny. My mom actually grew up in the countryside of South Korea. So
Oh, she
like
did?
yeah, so I remember like going to like the countryside when I was younger, and my grandma had a house out there. Apparently, my grandpa, on my mom's side, he owned a lot of land, but he loved to drink, and he loved to like just like kind of like party and stuff,
Mhm.
and he actually died. He died when I was
Mhm.
like a little baby. I don't even remember like seeing him, but apparently I saw him when I was like a little baby and a kid. There's like pictures and stuff, but yeah, he died when I was very young, from drinking, smoking. So my
Wow.
mom always kind of like, hated that I started smoking and drinking and things like that. So
Oh
they always were on my case
no.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
She
I
always bring that up. Like you want to be like your grandpa and die, and you want to like, because it's like he suffered towards the end of his life. Like
yeah.
yeah. But like apparently, well, yeah, I don't want to go too far, but yeah, he kind of like squandered a lot of his land. He sold it off to like for money and things like that. But they still had a little plot. I remember going there. Fucking. I remember my grandma like killing a chicken so we could eat it. And I was like a little baby. I think I was like maybe like I don't know 6 or 7, and like yeah, like, no, not even that. They just like got the chicken and just got a knife and just like yeah,
Oh,
just
they
like
use
and then
knives.
like
I was like, no, we just grab them by the neck and snap it and let them run around.
oh no, they didn't do
Oh
that. They
my
just fucking grabbed it, just
god.
yeah.
That's
And
how
but I
Southern
mean it was
people
good.
do it. But
Yeah, it was good chicken though. It was really good. Made a little soup, a little chicken soup. It's really
Mhm.
good, really good. But yeah, it's pretty much like a typical like Korean country like house. I mean, I remember there's an outhouse. My grandma had an
Oh.
outhouse for the longest time, and like they had gotten indoor plumbing because like every time I went there, I didn't want to use the outhouse. So, but I remember using the outhouse when I was little. And yeah, but anyways, not sorry about the tangent, but
Oh no, don't apologize. That's the whole point of this. We're supposed to be talking. You're supposed to be talking, and you're actually getting a lot of talking done. If we had a certain others, which I literally forgot to mention that Kaylin is sick at the beginning,
Yeah.
and that's why.
Yeah, we didn't even address that.
Oops.
Yeah,
I mean,
just kinda went
I
into
did say it in the chat, but I can say it again. Kaylin is not feeling well, so we have taken over and we're doing this tonight without him.
Yeah,
And
we're
we hope
winging it.
It gets better. So yeah.
flying by the seat of her pants.
Yeah. 'Cause,
He'll
know,
be
Yeah.
fine. He'll be fine. I
He's
think he just stayed awake too much.
Mhm.
Just overworking himself, and like he just needs a good night's rest.
Yes.
Take
He's
some
been doing a lot,
Tylenol,
though.
take some Benadryl, knock out, wake up the next morning, drink some orange juice, and he's fine.
There
Now, he's
you
been
go.
doing a lot for the channel, just kind of trying to grow it. So I'm sure he's running around just trying to keep up, making sure the channel's going and figuring out topics and things like that. Which, yeah, I mean, so
He's doing what he's doing.
yeah. Well, Kaylin, if you watch this, hope you get better, man. So
Yeah.
But,
So
I
do we
hope
want
you get
to?
older.
Oh yeah.
Kaylin, if you're watching this, I hope you get older.
So do we want to move on to Malty, or do you have anything more you want to add, Yopod?
I'm just about. Like I said, it's kind of I know I kind of sold it short, but now it's starting to become a long story. So
That's all right. If you still have more to say, you can keep on saying it.
Yeah, you don't have to
I'm
say it
trying to-
all, but if you feel like saying it
Yeah.
all, we're here to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll
it's
try to
all
make it
good,
quick.
man.
So pretty much what happened was my grandpa's factory burnt down because there was like workers that used to sleep there, and in Korea, like the heating that they use is like on the floor. But back then, what they would do, they would have these charcoal like they look like a can like a cylinder. It's like a full charcoal thing. You would light it on fire. You put it under the floor to heat up the floor, and that's how you get heating. Apparently, these guys, they were switching it out, and I guess like they put it next to on a paint bucket or something. It caught on fire, and the whole place burnt down. And then at that point, I believe my grandma had a uncle that was living in Philadelphia, I think, at the time, or somewhere in the East Coast. So my grandpa made the decision to like move the family out to the U.S. And then I believe like so the way they had to do it was like they had to go one by one. So like I think I think my grandma first went to her brothers, and then like she brought in my grandpa, and then eventually like my dad, and then my uncles came, and then and then like by the time my parents came, I think they had me maybe a year or two after that. And then, I mean, that's pretty much it. I guess that's my story. Yeah, I thought it's gonna go a little bit longer, but yeah, I guess that's it.
What made them want to move out to
robots.
California?
Well, no, I think it was more that by that time there was like a good Korean community being established in Korea. So I remember growing up pretty much like my family, they just stayed with like Koreans. They only like, kind of went to like Korean places, Korean church, and like all the friends were like Korean and stuff like that. And it's a funny story. I remember when I was younger growing up, for like a long time, I actually thought I lived in Korea.
Oh,
because
really?
I was always around like Koreans and like
the
Korean parts of the town. Yeah. And then like, I was like, oh wait, no, I'm actually in America. Never mind, but they pretty much stayed around their own people, and like they made me like go to Korean school on the weekend. So I learned Korean, and then like my parents pretty much only speak Korean. Like they could get away with speaking Spanish or not Spanish.
Well,
English.
by now they'd have to learn it actually, so that'd be accurate.
Yeah, yeah. No, but yeah, no, pretty much I grew up just, just speaking in Korean and stuff like that. Anytime I went back to Korea, people there, like when I talk with them, they'd ask me where I'm from. I'd be, oh, I'm from California. I'm from America. Like, oh, were you from Korea first? And I was born there. And like, oh, you sound like you're born in Korea. And like, I'm like, you're just being nice. Like, no, no, we're serious.
Wow.
Yeah, okay, all right, fair enough. But yeah, that's my story, my crazy Korean story.
Well, I
And you
enjoyed it. It was very good.
and y'all came here legally.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Oh my
My parents got
gosh.
their citizenship, and it took a long time for them to do that. They first had to
It
get their green
does.
card and everything,
It
and
does.
Hmm.
they got their citizenship. I think I want to say like somewhere in the 2000s. I want to say, and they had to pay a
Okay.
lot of money. They had to take the test.
Yeah.
They had to
You have to pay
memorize.
like yes.
Yeah, they had to memorize American history, and they had to go I think to LA to the what is if it's like the immigration office or whatever, and they had to do interviews and things like that. So,
Mhm.
and that's one thing that pisses me off about illegal immigration is, you have a bunch of people that are waiting, investing the time and money to do
Yes.
it, and people are just cutting through. And
Mm.
I'm sorry, I keep on going on, but
That's all right.
um, there's these guys in California that run an AM talk show. They're called John and Ken. They're kind of conservative, like your typical conservative, like red Republican types,
Mhm.
but they were doing this thing. I believe it was during the Trump when Trump first got in touch, so like 2016,
Mhm.
and they were taking some comments from the audience. I went up there and I told them like, oh no, this is for something else. I think this is for like illegal immigration. They're talking about illegal immigration. So, but
Mhm.
anyways, the point I made was like, listen, guys, like it doesn't make sense. Like if you're at a movie theater, right, and you're waiting to buy your ticket or whatever, and there's a
Mhm.
line and someone cuts in front of you, you're going to say something or you're going to, maybe even fight
Yeah,
them,
or be
right?
like, hey, what are you
Yeah.
doing
So,
cut in front of me? Yeah.
yeah. So why don't people do that for illegal immigration? It's a bigger issue than that. Yeah. We just sit around just, oh, well, like we know what happens. We know what goes on, but, we just act like we're very like powerless to do anything about it. Maybe we are, but it just
Oh
irks
no,
me the
we
wrong
can do
way.
something about it. We can do
Yeah.
something. We could do it easily. But
It all comes. It all
like,
comes from bleeding
yes,
heart liberals and
yes,
appealing to emotions and not to functionality.
yes.
And that's the difference between the right and left. Yes,
That's
I'm in the center right leaning. I'm more libertarian and federalist, but that's why people are afraid to talk about it. That's why there's certain words that YouTube doesn't want us to say or that people don't want to hear because they'll scream at you.
yeah.
It's all appealing to their hearts and their feelings and their emotions, and that's what's king or queen to them. Or
Yeah.
nowadays, who even knows? Because they'll just get it chopped off.
Oh my god. Oh god. Don't be the
Yeah.
40%, guys. Don't be in the 40%. That's all I gotta say. Just don't do it.
I'm not even gonna say the next thing I was gonna say. I was like, no, okay. I think I said enough.
I don't think you said enough, Malty.
Yeah, come on,
Chill.
Ned.
Okay, on our own channels, not on Kayla's channel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
better
yeah,
keep it. Although he would go off though, that kid.
Oh,
yeah.
he'd have a great
I'm sure.
time with it.
Oh
He
yeah, you know
would.
it. You know it. There'd be so much
Yeah.
more Asian jokes than what Malty. I
Oh
mean, but
man.
than what Malty did. Malty's very, very calm compared to Kaylin Kim's wild child for sure.
Yeah, I'm
Oh.
keeping it back because I don't want to get anybody banned or canceled. Like, meet me in real life. How about that?
Yeah.
We got to one of these days, man. We got to one of these
Oh, it's
days, man.
going to.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a meetup. I can't remember
Oh,
which con it is.
the
In
Dallas one?
Dallas.
Yeah, the Dallas
Yeah,
one.
Ryan said he wasn't planning on going. I was like, man, if Ryan goes, I'm going. Because I know if Ryan goes, other people will go, and I can actually make that one.
That would be cool.
And
Oh,
I know that's where. Okay, I won't say this online, but it's public knowledge. I know there are a lot of streamers that we both, I mean, all of us watch, that are based around that area
Mhm.
and or are close in less than half a day's drive to get there if they wanted to show up.
Yeah.
Isn't Ripa from that area, from Texas? Is he Texan?
Yeah.
Ripa, Melanie Mack, Brittany Vinny,
Okay.
Gary. Gary
Gary,
lives in
yeah.
Oh, that's
Texas as
right.
well.
That's right.
Yeah.
Quarter Black Garrett lives in Texas.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
QBG
Yeah.
and Steven Crowder live there. Not that I really want to meet him anymore.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones lives in my neck of the woods. I've actually met him before. He came and ate at my restaurant with Brett Cooper.
No way.
They
Really?
came by for lunch at the cafe that I was working at the time.
Nice.
And so I got to meet them without even asking. And
have you guys watched like Alex Jones in like 2010, 2011 during that time when the Jakari Jackson was there? Or you know who Rob Dew is, right? One of his producers with the big bushy like hair. He's got like the wild hair, glasses. He doesn't show on the recent like stuff. I met those two in 2016 when Trump came down over here at one of the rallies, and they were just covering like all the protesters and stuff. And yeah, I saw him, took a picture with him, but I don't know where the pictures went. But yeah, it was real cool. It was real cool to see him over there. It was real cool.
he was super nice, and Brett was super sweet as well. I mean, this was before she announced her engagement and everything like that. But,
Oh yeah, she was really keeping that under wraps. That was pretty good. Like nobody would have
oh
known.
yeah,
But you know,
she
she's
was.
still so young. Why should she like? She doesn't need to. You know.
Is she that
Ben
young?
Shapiro's
I think
sister.
she's 23 or 24, right?
Yeah, she's pretty
Yeah,
young.
she's young. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's marriage age.
Oh yeah. It's not like she's 18 or whatever. Although some people still do get married at 18. My one cousin did.
My mom did.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it as long as you're
Yeah.
discerning on what
Mhm.
your intentions are. I mean,
Mhm.
today's culture, everyone's just like sleeping around. It's like, oh, fuck around and find out by fucking a whole lot of people. Sorry for the language, but that's kind of how everyone views it. Well, you're in your prime. It's like, yeah, but you're using yourself up. And
Yeah.
I'm guilty of it as well. I had a couple of man whore phases, but I've mostly been in long relationships my entire life.
I'm
But
gonna
I have
shock
had my
y'all.
phases where I just, yeah, whatever. I spent all my time. Might as well go off and do this.
I'm gonna shock y'all though. I've been celibate my whole life.
You're a V card? You still have your V card. Is the laminate
Fucking
peeled
Malty.
off at
Oh
all?
my god. Oh my god. I find that very hard to believe, Jess.
It's true.
You ever had any like
Okay.
boyfriends or any relationships or anything like growing up or?
Of course she
Not when I
has.
was a teenager. When I was a
so you
teenager,
like
I kept my head down and I worked. I did my work and I just wanted to get out of high school and pass. That's all I cared about.
and you're
Okay.
not Mormon.
And I'm not. I mean, my dad's family's Catholic. My grandma who's like 96, she's very Catholic.
No, I was raised Catholic too. I went to Catholic church my whole life. I just never did the whatchamacallit, the confirmation. I never got confirmed
Yeah,
because by that
I'm not
time,
either. I'm not even
okay, yeah,
baptized. My dad didn't baptize me and my twin, but my
okay,
older brother is.
yeah, I got baptized when I was a baby. They did that, and then I never did my confirmation because at that time I was like a teenager, and then like all the scandals were going on in the church,
Yeah.
and so they pretty much forced me to go. Which looking back, like it was good that they did because it kind of gave me like a moral compass a little way. And the church we went to was like it was a good church. They're very it was a good church, but like just seeing like like what was going on with the Catholic Church at that time, I was like no, and then like
Yeah, it's bad.
and once I like became 18 or whatever, I stopped going to church and all that, and like and then, by the time by the time I was in high school, I was going through this rebellious phase. I was out drinking, smoking, just getting into trouble. I got arrested when I was like 15. But yeah, but the thing is I always tell people this, it's like now that I've gotten older and like through all the shit that I've been through, the things I've seen, like I either should like I should have died, either, been kicked out on the streets, become some sort of addict, or like been in jail or like prison or some, just some of the stuff that I could have gone into, and
Mm.
it took me leaving the church to kind of find God again. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like
sometimes, yeah, yeah,
yeah, like I had to kind of like find myself, and through that, it really made me appreciate that there is a higher power out there. And like now I understand that like a lot of the hard stuff that I've been through, it's like a test. It's always a test. Life is
yes,
always a test,
it is.
and it just depends on how you act towards that test. And
Yeah,
I feel like now I've been really blessed, and that God is really watching over me right now, like
yeah,
for sure.
because not everybody goes down the same path in that regard. Like sometimes you just don't go to church, and sometimes you don't need to because it's just a different way of I mean, yeah, I'll go to mass. Like I only started doing this recently with my dad. Like he and I go to mass almost every Sunday, but we just like sit
Oh,
and we listen. We don't really like. I don't even take communion because I'm not baptized.
okay.
So I would be like, But yeah, I mean, just sometimes if you just, I mean, but everybody has to go their own way. You can't force people to be like, you need to go and do this or else. But everybody
Mhm.
just has to do it their own way.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
You can't force it, especially with
that's
religion. You just can't do it.
yeah, that's a big reason actually, and I know my dad's going to watch this. But that's
Oh,
a big reason why I left the church that I was raised in.
man.
Yes, they did. They taught us the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
respect, and everything for that. But everything always felt like a chore, and you always got talked about behind your back.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
not
They
a bad thing.
they wanted to push for baptism. Well, I'm not Catholic, by the way, or I wasn't born or raised Catholic either. It was actually Church of God, which is a sect of non-denominational, and
Oh,
I don't ascribe to any denomination, but I've found that I'm more comfortable going to Methodist churches.
hmm,
Okay.
And so,
you
before
probably
going off on a tangent, just addressing your communion thing, you don't have to be baptized to accept communion. That's
really.
that's
Wow.
the yeah. Well, it's not Catholicism; it's Protestant.
Yeah.
But the bread is the body of Christ
Yeah.
broken for you and for
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
And the grape juice is the blood of him spilled out for you and the remission of sins. So
Yeah.
you don't have to be saved or baptized in order to receive communion as long
Yeah.
as it means to you. And
Yeah.
I feel like Catholics are probably feel a little bit different about that, but we take communion every Sunday in the Methodist Church, and that's how
Wow.
we view it, and that's how it's preached. That's how Jesus meant it. And I actually did choose to get baptized at age 20
Oh
Wow.
wow.
in a
Wow.
different church, but I made the decision for myself. I didn't do it in my parents' church. I found another place where I was just like, I feel this is spirit led. I feel like I'm getting the call. Cat has the zoomies. I feel like yes, I feel like I'm getting the call that I want to be baptized and need to be baptized. So that's when I did it. But it definitely wasn't. I didn't fall into peer pressure, and I don't think anybody in a religion should, because I've always had that viewpoint as well. The people who just kind of throw it in your face all the time, you turn so many people off when if you just live by Jesus's actions and just treated everyone as human beings, that spirit would show itself to them.
Oh yeah.
And you'd convert way more by doing that rather than just spouting Bible verses at them
Yeah,
and
and
being
one
duplicitous on the side.
yeah, yeah. Well, another issue is they're like it's like a holier than thou type thing.
Hmm.
They think
Yeah,
like, "Oh, I'm so perfect and oh, look, I'm so good. I
Yeah.
do all this." And it's like, you know, they end up being like just rude and nasty, and you just don't even want to. It turns people off, and they just don't want to deal with those kind of people who are really like into it. Like there are some people who are so strict and like that. They just it's really hard to be around those people when they're just like, if you're not like me, we're then you just get out. It's
Mm-hmm.
just not right. You can't do that. It just makes people not even want to try. You know.
Yeah. Especially anyone on the fence or anyone vehemently against it from the get go. You'd be surprised at how many. I mean, well, you see it with the Pharaoh when
Mhm.
Moses, God hardened his heart. It was like God can soften your heart as well
Mhm.
if you treat it with love and respect. If you treat every neighbor as your neighbor,
Yeah.
because that's all we are in the end. We're all children of God,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we all screw up, and
We're not
people
perfect, that's for
suck.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mess up all the time.
Hey,
Sometimes
we're
Yes.
I'm
all
mean,
human.
I snap, I pop off. It's like y'all don't want me to do that, but and I don't want to do it either. But yeah, we all do that. Just treat
Yeah.
everyone with love and that spirit, whether you want to call it God or any other religion. I have my own. I have my own faith, but
Mhm.
if you treat people with that Holy Spirit, it'll it'll knock on the door, and if they let it, if they even crack it anyway, it'll come into them, and then you'll see a massive difference.
It's
Yeah.
it's definitely up to the individual. It's up to the individual.
And uh to Malty's point, like the thing about like the Catholic Church that I've noticed, it's it's very structured. I don't even know if that's the right word.
It's
It
very it's very I mean, some
like
people
so
say it's like ritualistic
yeah, I mean it kind of is
kind, but
because it's like because like like the reason like like
because you do the
I got
Our Father
baptized when I was
prayer and
right. Well,
all
like
that.
the reason I got baptized, and maybe just I mean, just you got some experience with this. Is like the reason they did it is because well, you have to do it or else you're not saved. So you do it as a baby, and then like
Mhm.
remember going to like Sunday school. It's like okay, well you have to do your like first confession, and then you have to do like your first communion, and then like you have to do your confirmation. It's always like it was like going to school. You had to like
Yeah.
progress. You know what I mean? And it just didn't seem like you're trying to build a relationship with God.
You
It was just more
have
kind
to
of
do
like going
this.
through the motions of
Yeah.
things. Yeah, like and like I didn't understand that because I went to from kindergarten, well, like from preschool to sixth grade, I went to a Christian school. It's a Baptist, so it was a Baptist church, and they had a
Mm.
Christian school. So I kind of got like both sides of it. And like the way that they went about it was like completely different, and like it just seemed more, I don't know, like holistic, more natural. It just seemed more like it was about building a relationship with God, not just like going through the motions of having to do certain like sacraments and things like that in order to like progress in your salvation, if that's the right word. I don't know, but it's
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
progress in your faith
yeah,
or
yeah,
whatnot,
exactly,
something like that. Yeah.
exactly,
So.
exactly.
So we kind of went off on that a little bit. I hope that was
Yeah.
interesting, guys. I thought it was a good
Ah.
conversation personally.
There's no more
I
atheists in
love
the
it.
chat, or in a
Yeah.
or in a house fire or a plane that's going down. There's no atheists there either.
Well, should we? I mean, I don't know if you guys want to keep going, but I mean, should we kind of, Malty, do you want to kind of go into your thing a little bit before we could kind of go into your subject that you wanted to do?
If
If
you
you
want to.
wanted me to talk a little bit more, um, yeah, I've got a little bit of a lineage that goes back even further. So you said 1800s, like try 1540,
Yeah, that's right.
and that's kind
Right.
of where that's the last thing that I know about. But
Mhm.
it's also I'm getting weird. That's a famous figure that a lot of people will have at least heard the name, but perhaps I can give a little bit more backstory if y'all want to talk about it, or if y'all want to call it here because we're an hour and 10. It doesn't matter to me. I'm here.
I mean, I think if you want to talk about it, go ahead.
Or if Kaylin wants to be around for it, but I don't
I'm down
know.
for it.
No, I think you can
Or
fire away.
So, and there's a couple jokes in here too, but so we found out. I talked privately. I was like, well, also, go ahead. And dead air. I'm Jay. Never mind.
No, I'm sorry. Oh my god, I'm just my cat is just being a goof. He's walking out. Oh, hello, here, hello, hi
oh,
guys. You can see
cat
my
is
cat.
takeover.
Look
Cat
at
is
those
standing there.
hindquarters.
Cat
Look
is
at those
takeover.
Go to sleep.
them thoroughbred thighs. Look at them.
Oh, he certainly is like a spider cat, man. He like if he could climb the walls, he would. I'm telling you. You wouldn't think he was 12 years old, but he is.
Oh yeah, they go for a long time, mostly, especially the domesticated breeds, not the ones that are bred for specific things. So yeah, they last like 17, 18 years mostly. Most of the time. I'm stuck with my cat for another 12.
Oh.
And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. Okay, before all that, do you want to continue?
If we can, I don't have an eye patch. But what I do have, since we streamed over her tonight, my Wicked Virtue Pirate Queen shirt.
Shout out.
We're fixing to talk about pirates. Sir Francis Drake in the 1500s. Well, directly descended from him, and found out today by going through the genealogy. That's actually on my mom's side.
Wow.
Now, he was the first Englishman from Devonshire, or Devonshire, however Az wants to correct me, somewhere in England.
Or American, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Same difference. One just says Britain, and the other says Britain.
Britain. It's true.
But the first Englishman to circumnavigate the world by ship, and the second person recorded of all time to circumnavigate the world. Now,
wow.
funny little asterisk to that is they thought it was Magellan, but Magellan died during the first circumnavigation thing. He died in the middle of the voyage, so his first mate actually completed the trip.
Wow.
So Sir Francis Drake did it by himself.
Wow.
Started out as a pirate attacking merchant ships in the shipping lanes, and also got into the slave trade.
Oh, wow.
So let's bring up slavery again, I guess.
Well,
now it's coming from my mom's side, not my dad's side. So hey, it's on both sides.
Hey, it's just been around forever, and it happened. It's still unfortunately happening with with human trafficking. I mean, unfortunately, but anyway.
Yeah, and that stuff pisses me off.
Oh, I know.
More than the slave trade, because that was legal throughout. I mean, back in those days. But the kids, leave those kids alone.
I mean, we could go on a long tangent about that, but let's keep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's.
Anyway.
So, actually, I can't say one of the first, but a well-noted, he became a legal pirate.
Legal. Wow.
Yes, because Queen Elizabeth I commissioned him to do the circumnavigation route. And while he was in the middle of doing that, he actually got pinned in by a Spanish fleet. And so they tried to like mess up his ships and everything, and he escaped from them and then completed the route. And then had harbored a high resentment to the Spanish, which I think was King Philip II. If I'm not mistaken, King Philip II was the king of Spain at the time, and Queen Elizabeth I was Queen of England, and they were just constantly bickering back and forth, especially in naval areas. And so, and yes, fact check me on all this in case I misspeak.
Oh no, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
But so he harbored resentment, and she assigned him to be a privateer, and basically any Spanish ship you see, attack it, plunder it, bring it back to the crown.
Wow.
And so that's what he did for a while. Also, he kept on sailing because most of the time, at that time, a lot of the Spanish galleons and everyone, they were in South America mining and bringing back gold and setting up settlements. And so he'd just commandeer those ships and take them out to bring back to the crown. So he first time he used the Strait of Magellan, but I think it's the Cape of Good Hope, or is that the African one? But underneath the southern peninsula of South America, in order to get around, it's now called Drake's Passage.
Oh.
And so he spent a lot of time on California, almost up to Oregon.
Wow.
And so that's where he kind of like set up base. So any injuries he had, he would get healed, or he would heal up and then take off across the Pacific. And that's how he circumnavigated. So Cape of Good Hope is Africa.
Oh wow.
Through the Indian Ocean and up and around, and then weasel your way back to England. And so there's that. And also, one of the funniest things that I found out is after he had done all that, Queen Elizabeth I knighted him, and he became mayor of Plymouth, which is on Plymouth in England. On my mom's side.
Okay. I'm like, what?
Yeah, on my mom's side, and then he died in 1596, but in 1620 the Pilgrims landed in Plymouth Rock, and that was on my dad's side. And so we have yet to find the whole branch of genealogy, and I just did a J thing, like, what are we doing?
They said
I talk. Where is it? I talk with my hands sometimes.
Talk with my hands sometimes.
Yeah, I just thought it was hilarious. It's like, okay, on my mom's side, mayor of Plymouth, famous pirate, legal pirate after a short time. Jeez. And then on my dad's side, mayor of Plymouth Rock, and somehow through everything, things intertwine.
That's amazing.
I'm just amazed that they didn't sell in Alabama.
Dang. What the heck? Well, maybe they didn't want to interbreed anymore.
Anymore. She's got jokes.
There we go.
She's got
finally
jokes.
Said it. Come on out your closet, girl.
I couldn't help it.
Well, yeah. Didn't die in ignominy, as a lot of people, I guess, kind of think if they haven't done the research. Was actually sponsored by the crown, and first Englishman to circumnavigate, like go sail all the way across the world.
And that's pretty amazing. And Queen Elizabeth the first. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. There was a whole lot of skirmishes, battles between the Spaniards. They hated each other at that time point, and this is the
Oh
mid
god, yeah.
1500s. So
Yeah.
they were like constantly going at it.
Yeah, well, Britain, their navy, they had to have a good navy because, they're on an island, so
Hmm.
they really were they had to be, protective of the island. So yeah, they're very much all about the navy stuff. And even with like the French Revolution, that was even kind of rough for England. Like there's even a couple riots like in that time because, there it was just a very tumultuous time.
Yeah.
But that was obviously in the late 1700s,
Okay.
right after our American Revolution, because
Yeah, that's
The
right.
French were actually kind of
Yeah.
inspired, kind of, but it wasn't the same. Okay, the French Revolution was communist. Okay, it was
Yeah. Yeah.
communist, and they're sitting there
Commie
like, oh,
bastards.
so anybody who thinks that the French Revolution is like ours, no, it was communist.
No, no, no. It
Just
was
saying.
yeah.
Well, anyway, do you have anything more to add to that, Malty? Anything like?
Um. So I mean, so I know I talked about the Hicks and the McCoys and Sullivans that
Mhm.
time. That's the bloodline that Sir Francis Drake came from.
Wow.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's why I said that's on my. Sir Francis Drake actually came from my mom's side. I just thought it was funny learning about all that. That oh, he was the mayor of Plymouth in England, and then my dad's side was the first mayor of Plymouth Rock when the Pilgrims landed in 1620, and then somehow the bloodlines got involved. They did the business, and here I
Malty, you
am.
said your dad was the mayor of
That's
Plymouth Rock?
amazing.
No, my dad was not the mayor, but my
Oh,
dad's
I thought you said.
side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry,
like
I
like
misheard
a
you,
great
man. I was like,
a great
damn.
great
Yeah.
like a great
Yeah,
grandfather.
what is he, Victor from Underworld? Like he's been around for a millennia.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
I hope I got that name right. We just talked about it. Oh, well, I watched Mara Jade talk about it like a week and a half ago, revisiting the Underworld series, and I was like, isn't the
Oh,
Bill Nye guy, didn't he play Victor? Like one of the eldest vampires? We don't have to talk about this if you don't want.
I have no idea what it is.
Oh,
I
the
don't think
movie.
I've
It's
heard
like
of it.
from 2004 or 2006 with Kate
Oh,
Beckinsale and
oh, oh. Okay, never mind. I know what you're talking about. Never mind. First, I was
yeah,
going, what? No, okay, now I know.
it's a good one. It's some good ones.
It's been a minute since I've seen it, so that's why my memory is like foggy
Yeah,
about it.
before Twilight and Gaines took over,
Oh,
before the Sparkles.
okay, I'll admit that I freaking read that series, but I soon hated it afterward, and I regretted reading it, and I'm like, why did I do this? So,
I remember buying Breaking Dawn for my girlfriend at the time,
oh,
and I was like, "You like this? Here you go." I stopped by after work. I just picked you up something. I never read them. I did watch all the movies though. They were
very,
strangely entertaining in a weird way, almost like
yeah,
hate watching or like
yeah,
cringe watching,
yeah,
because I
yeah.
was just making jokes about it the entire time, but I was kind of just like, but I couldn't look away.
I know it's like a train wreck, man. I actually never saw the I only saw the first one, and I never saw the second or the third or even Breaking Dawn, the Breaking Dawn movie. So I was like, eh. I didn't really care for it after that. I was like, this is so bad.
Oh, don't get me wrong. The story is god awful trash.
Oh my god. Oh, hello. Here comes Cat again. Hi.
There we go. There he is.
Ronaldo.
Oh wait, is that Cool Cat?
Ronaldo.
There he is.
Yeah.
That's like a deep cut thing with what's his name? Oh, I can't remember. YourMovieSucks.org does a whole big thing on it. The guy who does Cool Cat, and he's just a crazy. Used to be in Playboy or Playgirl, like in the
Oh.
70s, and I'd have to look it up. But he just makes fun of him. He does the 420 awards, and it's just a complete shit show the whole time. But
Oh,
he does
nice.
these little kids things and kid videos. There's Cool Cat's the main one. So they have like Eric Estrada and Vivica Fox in there that make cameos. And
Oh my god.
yeah,
That
it's
is
crazy.
fun. Oh,
It's so much fun.
that sounds like a trip. Oh man. No, we kind of went off there, but oh well. You know.
Yeah.
We keep going off, but not getting off.
Story of my life.
Yeah, we're kind of edging, so is anything going to take us over the top?
Oh my god. That's good. That's good. That's a good one.
That's so funny. Oh my
Oh man. I feel like we could just keep on going, but I mean, I don't know if people even still watching us right now.
There
I
we
think it's good and succinct, and if we want to keep on going, we can show the bonus scenes at some other point.
bonus scenes. What?
Yeah, when we keep it going off air, we can always show little clips of bonus scenes. Hey, business idea, business plan. I think we're good. Yo, Popsy, you feel like you said everything you need to say or feel like saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I guess maybe I just bring up the fun. I don't want to. Well, I guess I'll just kind of say this is like, you know, as far as like Korea goes, it's like don't think, it's like this perfect society. It definitely is not. It's a great place, but it's had its ups and downs, and they're a lot better for it, but there's still a lot of work to be done. With that being said, there's no other place I'd rather be than in America. I tell people that all the time. People ask me, what are you? I'm like, well, I'm American. Oh no, well, or where you from? And all that. Well, I'm American. Oh, well, where are you? Well, I'm American. It's like, no, well, okay, I'm Korean, but like, I've told people is like, if I had to like move to Korea for some reason, I couldn't. It wouldn't be home. Like America's my home. This is my home. California's my home. And I think we should be very appreciative of where we're at, and we should do our best to keep that and to protect it as best as we can.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes.
For sure.
America.
People need to remember. America.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you, man. Definitely.
Sure.
Okay, we're bringing race back into it because that's kind of what this is titled.
Mhm.
Your ancestry doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you're from. America is the greatest nation that has ever been conceived, and we need to do our part to keep it that way.
Yes. And
never be ashamed to say that you're American.
Yes,
who cares what your color is? I mean, who cares what color you turn whenever you start drinking alcohol?
I would turn green because I get sick. So that's why
Well,
it's strange.
I mean, who
well,
cares if
Malty.
you turn off the lights and then there's a couple of flashlights in your grill and everything like that? Who cares? You're American. You're American. We
Hey, well,
all
Malty.
together.
I guess when Asians drink, we turn a little Indian. So.
Hey, man, brothers. How
Hey.
about there? You go, fist bump.
That's
Boom.
right. But yeah, that's right. I don't want to keep dragging it on, but we should also be proud of our heritage. We should definitely remember, um, our great ancestors and what they've been through, and the way that they lived and all that. But yeah, at the end of the day, we are American. We all, bleed red, white, and blue, and we have a common bond, which is this country and the culture that came out of it. So
Damn right.
Damn
that's so
straight.
funny.
Chick. Yeah, I didn't bring that one on stream because, well, for obvious reasons, but oops. Both of y'all are,
So,
never mind. We'll talk about this later.
so how do you want to wrap this up now?
I think
Yeah,
so.
we
I
should.
think we're
Yeah.
good.
All right, who wants to shout anything out?
I'll start it off. I'm Yo Pops, your friendly neighborhood roof Korean. Um, you can find me on YouTube, Yo Pops 215. The way that these streams are going, I think I will definitely start my own thing. I just gotta get the funds to get a decent setup and just kind of figure out how I'm going to do things, and then we'll go from there. And then you could find me on Twitter or X, YoPops215. I always repost a lot of political news type of stuff and some crazy stuff that goes on as well. So you can find me there.
And Malty?
Well, Rooftop Korean. So he's the one that's making all your shark fin soup. But as far as me, yeah, I definitely want to get into this more right now, not having the setup. But we're doing what we can, and we're just making connections, which I think is what the 199 is all about. Even though we're not directly affiliated with G&G, let that
Right.
be known. But this is how we met, is by
Mhm.
being in chat and just making connections with other like-minded human beings that enjoy kind of the same things, and we all have our own stories. So you can find me on Twitter or X, whatever, Twixter, whatever you want to call it. My name is the same way everywhere on social media, just MaltyMaldy. I don't bite,
He's a
and
cool dude.
Oh, and
I'm a little
I,
nice, but
I just kind of want to. I'm sorry, I'm going off of what Malty said. And I do want to shout out Kalen. Unfortunately he wasn't able to be here tonight. He's a little bit under the weather from doing all the stuff that he does, all the work that he does. But if it wasn't for him, we would have never gotten this stream started. It is Kalen's love child, but if it wasn't for him, we
He'd
wouldn't be
make a
doing this.
joke about
So
that.
yeah, that's
how does
right.
Kalen
So
have a love child when he's a virgin?
Oh,
immaculate conception, immaculate conception.
there you go.
There we go. All right.
But shout out to Caleb. Shout out to Caleb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kalen is Anakin. No, for real, Kalen takes the he takes the punches very well, and he's also a very big go getter. Much love and support to him, and allowing us to even be a part of this at all.
Mhm.
So yeah, get better soon, dude. Sooner the
Yeah,
better. Just drink some OJ and get some freaking sleep.
yeah, there you
Mhm.
go. If it weren't for you, Malty, I wouldn't be here. I would be in chats, just chatting. I would not be on camera. So
I got your
again, I,
back.
I have you to thank for that.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
And for
So
anyone else in chat or
yeah,
anywhere, like I'll do the same with you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh, and Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Thank you, chat. Thank you, chat, for coming in. I know we've been kind of not been reading the chat. It's just we've had to do this on the fly, and we have Mo Zamboni in the background, kind of controlling everything as far as the stream goes. So, but we see you. We see you in the chat. So thanks for joining us, guys. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for hanging and listening to us ramble on, But I enjoyed myself. So yeah, and obviously here's my Twitter. As you can see, you can follow me there. I'll post political things and sometimes about my book or just any random thing. Yeah, nerd stuff, anything like that. So if you want to follow, follow. Have
Come
at
hang
it.
out. All these people
Yeah.
are very approachable. Everyone's approachable,
Heck yeah.
and that's
We
a
like
good
to have
thing.
fun. We like to have fun in there. So
Oh
no
hell yeah,
thin-skinned people.
Yeah.
true that too.
Okay. Oh,
Oh,
look who's
oh,
saying bye.
Kitty wants a shout out. Kitty wants a shout out.
Yay.
Where
Thank
is
you,
Puss's boots?
Melvin. Yeah.
Where are Puss's boots?
Well, okay, guys. Well, thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you next time. Are we gonna end? Are we gonna?
No.